Government 2305, American Federal Government, Module 1.06, The American Dream. There are probably as many definitions of the American dream as there are American dreamers. Everyone seems to have a different vision of exactly what the American dream is based on their cultural, religious, economic, and educational background. But most definitions boil down to the one that was first published by Benjamin Franklin in a pamphlet called Tips for Getting Rich. He said, if you're talented and work hard, you can achieve personal success. If you observe that this view of the American dream is closely related to the definition of rugged individualism that we discussed in the previous model, you're not alone. There's no doubt that there is a strong similarity between the definition of rugged individualism that we discussed in the previous model and the American dream. Spreading the dream. According to historian Gordon Wood, the legacy of the Revolutionary War was the spread of the American dream to all classes. Remember that in Europe, land was tied to elite nobles for whom common citizens worked, without the realistic ability to own their own land or control their own political and economic destiny. To quote political philosopher Thomas Hobbes, life is solitary, nasty, brutish, and short. This was certainly true for most Europeans in the 17th and 18th century. But America was different than its sister continent to the east. In America, national leaders originally imagined that they were establishing a classical republic, such as the one in Athens, in which a few outstanding men would govern the people. Instead, the revolution established the common people as the basis of government and gave them an unprecedented chance to make their fortunes. Professor Wood further observed that the mass of people cared about making money and getting ahead. While this goal may seem as vulgar, material, and crass, the opportunity to prosper had never been available on such a wide scale before. Enabling the dream of success remains an important part of any political policy debate. For instance, will a proposal help small business? Will it create jobs? Will it stifle entrepreneurship? Immigrants still come to the United States in large numbers, far more than in any other country, partially in order to pursue their dreams of success, their version of the American dream. Is the system tilted towards the wealthy? In a 1968 speech given by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and paraphrased later by Senator Bernie Sanders, he said, "This country has socialism for the rich and free market capitalism, which is often quoted as rugged individualism, for the poor." Most historians, economists, and political scientists today interpret this quote as supportive of the idea that there are actually two American dreams. One is for the wealthy, where government hears their wishes and subsidizes businesses' pursuits to promote their economic prosperity. And the other is the unfortunate reality that the poor and those in need are often left to fend for themselves in a highly competitive dog-eat-dog world, much like what Thomas Hobbes observed a little under 400 years ago. As we saw in an earlier video clip with Senator Sanders, the top 1% of households control close to 50% of the wealth in the United States today, with the other 99% of Americans left to compete for the other 50%. As with every important idea, the American dream generates conflict. critics raise two questions. Has the system become rigged to favor the wealthy at the expense of giving everyone a fair shot at success? And is the pursuit of wealth an undesirable value, either on its own merits or because it crowds out other important values? Is the system tilted towards the wealthy? Some critics question whether the American dream is still open to everyone or whether it has grown biased towards the rich and the powerful. Early America offered the most opportunities to get ahead than perhaps any nation in history, and this remained true for many, many years. During the boom years after World War II, middle-class incomes rose faster than incomes at the top, as we can see in Figure A below. Then, starting around 1979, this trend changed. Money began to flow to the wealthiest more than to the other classes, as we can see in Figure B. As the wealth of the top 1% rises dramatically from 1979 to 2016, the share of wealth controlled by the other 99% of the population dropped just as dramatically. This has led to some serious doubts that the American dream still exists for the average citizen. Today, the wealthiest 200,000 Americans, or the top 1/10 of the top 1%, earn more than the 188 million people who make up 90% of American adults, as we can see in Figure A below. The 60 million Americans at the bottom of the charts own almost nothing, 1/10 of 1% of the national wealth. The median white family is 10 times wealthier than the median black family, as can be seen in Figure B below. Inequality continues to rise as the gap between richest and poorest widens. Many social scientists have concluded that the chance of the average American to move up from poverty to wealth is fading in the United States. Critics worry that the system is tilted towards insiders with good connections, known as crony capitalism, or the children of the wealthy. Both conservatives and liberals challenge the United States to live up to its promise of equality of opportunity. This leads to a question that our textbook authors raise. Does the American dream promote the wrong values? Environmentalists criticize the damage caused by big houses, sprawling suburbs, gas-guzzling cars, and opulent lifestyles. Others cite the harm to old-fashioned communal ideals. These dark days will be worth all they cost us, said President Franklin Roosevelt during the depths of the Great Depression, if they teach us that our true destiny is to minister to our fellow men. Have Americans lost their perspective on how we pursue and acquire wealth? Many social scientists have questioned the pursuit of economic success to the exclusion of community and justice. 15 million children, or some 21%, live below the poverty line in the United States, and that was before the COVID-19 recession. Critics charge that something is amiss with the American dream if we let so many of our children in poverty. The capitalists who celebrate wealth must often wrestle with economic populists who would rather share it. In a 2019 poll, just 16% agreed that becoming wealthy is a key feature of the American dream. Far more, 85%, emphasize freedom of choice in how to live one's life. That's the liberty idea that we highlighted earlier. And 35% making contributions to my community, the idea of solidarity. In another series of studies, nearly half, between 44 and 48% of the 18 to 29-year-olds said that the American dream did not apply to their generation. Despite critics and challenges, many Americans continue to celebrate that pursuit of success. The nation's politics, economics, and culture accommodates the dreams of wealth. In comparison with other wealthy nations, Americans pay less in taxes, regulate business less, take fewer vacations, and place more emphasis on getting ahead. So let's review. The American dream is the belief that anyone who works hard can get ahead and grow wealthy. Critics argue that hard work is no longer enough to achieve the dream. They make two claims. First, that the poor and middle classes are falling further behind the wealthy because of biases in the political economy. And second, that other values are more important than wealth. These criticisms have especially resonated among the millennials and Generation Z. But for many, especially new immigrants to this country, the dream remains a powerful American idea that is worth pursuing.